Hi guys, Driver's Dead time for Tales Point Horror Book Club for May. We're in May. I forgot what month we're in. Right, I'll just add our very special guest in, Tomi. And I do apologise tonight if I cough or if I've had a really bad cold this week. So I'll try and mute it if I need to cough. Hopefully Tomi will be here. Hiya!
Hello, can
Hello!
you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, brilliant.
Perfect. Oh, thanks for joining
I'm
us.
delighted to be here.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what you think of this book. It was wild.
Yeah, honestly, it's a trip.
Wild. Thanks to everyone joining in. If you've got any comments, pop them up. We'll try and read them out. But there'll be spoilers ahead, probably from the beginning of Driver's Dead, for Driver's Dead, I should say. So our special guest is the brilliant Tomi. Is it Oyemakinde? Have I said that right?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yes, I've been practicing with Emma. Bless her. Love you, Emma. So Tomi, if you don't know, is a fantastic writer, committed to crafting stories centered around Black protagonists, thriving across all genres. And The Changing Man, which I've actually got on my Kindle, which is that cover art is just amazing, was your debut novel about a teenage girl pulled into investigating the truth behind her new boarding school's decade-old legend. And then coming in August, you've got a new book coming. Is it We
Dude,
Are Hunted?
we are hunted. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
can you
true.
tell us a little bit more? I'm
Of
excited.
course. Yeah, no, it's honestly, it's a bit of a love letter to the types of survival stories that I loved. Kind of growing up, like Jurassic Park, Shaun of the Dead, and then sort of newer ones
Oh,
like Train to Busan. So really, it's about survival, but kind of centers two brothers and their dad who are a bit out of sync, and they have to sort of work out their differences in the midst an island resort that has gone completely mad with feral sort of creatures. So
wow.
that is it in a
Oh,
nutshell.
I'm so excited. That sounds so good. And the cover art, which you revealed on your Instagram, oh, that is just
Yeah,
phenomenal.
it's great.
Honestly,
There's
it's
another cover coming.
amazing.
So the
Oh, is
UK, yeah, the
there?
UK. So that's the US cover. The UK cover
Oh,
is
is
still
it?
coming. I've seen a sneak peek of it, so it looks great. I'm looking forward to announcing that one. I think they've done a
Oh,
brilliant job.
I can't wait to see that. I thought that was the UK cover, so I'm in for an extra treat
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So I'm super excited, but it sounds so good. And I think what I saw for the write up for it was a horror thriller as creepy as Annihilation with the corruption of rich themes of the White Lotus. And I was like, sold just on
I
that.
feel very honoured for them to have framed it that way. I hope it lives up
Honestly,
to it.
yeah, brilliant. But yeah, so is this the first time you've read a point horror? Because I know when we chatted, you heard of point horror, but I don't think you'd read one.
Correct. Yeah, never read one before, so this is it's
Oh
exciting. It was
wow!
exciting for me to kind of read it for the first time.
Oh wow! And you heard of point horror before? Before I came in and said point horror, point horror.
No, I hadn't.
Oh,
No, so it was all
okay.
very new to me, kind of
Yeah. Because you
point
were
horror.
probably very young in the 90s, I'm guessing. Not old like me. So, okay. So I'll be interested to hear what your experience was because we was talking about two books. There was this one and
Yeah.
then another one, and you kind of went with this one because you liked the cover art on
Yeah,
it,
I
didn't
just I
you?
said let me judge the book by its cover, and I was like, Driver's Dead looks pretty cool, so that was exciting to read.
Oh, amazing. So we'll get into it then, have a little chat about it. So the tagline for this one is a crash course in murder.
Dramatic.
And all of these point horrors, they all have these like really cheesy taglines, and sometimes they go with the book, and sometimes they don't. This one,
Yeah, sort
mm,
of. Yeah, yeah, kinda.
yeah, we'll give it half a point.
Half a point. I think that's
Yeah,
fair.
that'll do. So basically, it's about a troubled ghost begs the new girl in town to help him rest in peace. So nobody knows exactly what happened the night when. I think that's how you pronounce it, when.
Mm,
But I could be wrong. So I apologise because people know my pronunciations are normally off. But
mm,
when he drove off the cliff, and then when Kirsty moves to Port Lincoln, she hears all kinds of rumours about the strange Vietnamese boy's death, which the town seems to get over pretty quick, which I thought was a
mm.
bit, yeah. I think it only happened like a couple of months before,
Yeah,
right, or something.
pretty. Mm,
Yeah,
yeah, but I found it quite interesting that it was a little bit of a political statement, right? Because he was Vietnamese, so I think they kind of played off the fact that it was like, yeah, we don't
yeah,
really care about the family, sort of, but like he didn't do it, but no
yeah,
one listened, and then they just kind of left, and
yeah,
so it is, yeah, there's something eerie about kind of the town being like, well, yeah, that happened.
yeah. And I think I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but I think Kirsten, the main girl, kind of references. So when someone else dies, they kind of have
Mm,
this like meeting in the gymnasium, and she kind of says, acknowledges, "Oh, I wonder if like one of the football team had died, whether it would be more prominent."
mm, mm.
And I thought, well, you could say the same for Gwen's death
True.
as well, really. So I thought that was quite a good little contrast there.
100%.
So yeah, so was it a suicide? Was it an accident? Was there anyone else in the car? And as you mentioned, the family had moved away. And Kirsten just doesn't have time for rumours. She's too busy trying to make it through her driver's ed class. So Kirsten is apparently one of the worst drivers Port Lincoln has ever
Mm,
seen. No
mm.
one's ever seen my driving, but we'll go with Kirsten's driving being the worst. And the only thing that makes the class bearable is Rob Maxim, who we'll get onto with his dreamy eyes. But when Wen's ghost appears in Kirsten's bedroom, begging her to bring his murderers to justice, she brings to the fear that the driver's ed is not the only thing that's going to kill her. Dum dum dum. So the book also does include a man that looks like roast beef, a dead guy,
Yeah.
floppy disks from the 90s, a computer with DOS, which is very 90s, haunted lockets, haunted flyers, and you can win a white escort apparently if you pass your driver's ed test.
Incentive.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of a school giving away a car, but
No, that's
you
pretty
know,
cool.
go for that. I saw Eddie said such a good tagline for this one, and then he thought, "Oh wait, you don't like it? I thought it wrote itself." Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those taglines that fitted, wasn't it? um, Cameron put never read Point Horror before. Induct Tomi into the clan. One of
One
us. One of
of
us.
us.
Oh, dear. And Sharon said the drama in this one.
Yeah.
Larissa said, pretty sure that's right, Shelley. It's how Kelly on Teen Creep said it. Oh, the when. So I must be saying it right. Oh, makes a change. Cameron said I kept reading Port Lincoln and getting confused with Port Angeles. Kept expecting Edward Cullen to wander out of the mist. Really? No. Emma put poor guy about when. They were so horrid to him.
Mm,
Um, Eddie's video said the whole conflict in this one was a bit all over the road. Oh, see what he did there.
wordplay.
And Emma put Rob and his awful lips. Yeah, we'll get on to Rob.
Rob.
Yeah,
Oh
lots of
gosh.
excitement about floppy disks as well.
Those are the days.
A white escort. Was it? Newissa's put white escort, Shelley laughing face, so I must have said something wrong there. Oh dear. So if the driver's dead kind of opens up unusually, I would say, for a
Yeah.
point horror. So we get this flashback on this murky, misty night in the woods with this stolen car, which smells like Old Spice and wet dog, which was just
Yeah, that's a horrible image.
mm. And yeah, and boom, they're in the wrong lane and something happens and someone ends up dead. So, what did you think as a writer with the prologue? Because we kind of know who those people were, kind of, in the car that night. So, is that quite a bold move to open up a book that way, giving your characters away? Or would you
Yeah,
have liked it as a bit more of a
it's a
twist?
good question. I think I'm always on the fence with prologues, but I thought it was quite good in that it helped build the suspense of like, cool, especially when those characters started to appear throughout the book. I'm like, all right, how are
Yeah.
we? They clearly were there and they clearly were involved. How is this going to sort of play out? And so that kind of kept me interested in it.
Mm,
So I think as long as it gives me something to anticipate, I think I don't mind those sorts of starts where you kind of leave those things out there. I think it would have been a very different book had it not been
mm,
sort of in there. And I think there was still enough there where I was like, oh, actually, there was another like twist
yeah.
to come off of that. So I feel like it kind of it did its
Yeah.
job
No,
for sure.
I agree. I agree with that. I think that I remember when I first read it because I've read this book quite a few times, and I remember when I first read it, and I thought, oh, not sure how I feel. So spoilers about Rob and Virgil being revealed off the bat, but obviously I thought, well, there's got to be more to
Mm,
it.
mm,
But on this read, I actually think it did work well because, as you say, it did keep you enough intrigued to think, well, what actually happened that night? What
yeah,
went on? Because Rob and Virgil didn't seem to be like buddy friends, like in the
exactly.
present day. So I
Yeah,
was
distant.
intrigued in that.
Yeah. That
Mm.
said, though, I mean, kind of the rationale for Gwen going out to meet them, I was like, is that how like how are you falling for the fact that like,
Uh,
oh, we found a Ferrari? I'm like,
a
that's
little
that would
old town.
I don't know how likely that is. I think I would have
No.
just said, I'm not going to come. But I think sort of was thinking maybe he thought he had something to gain by going out there.
Mm.
But still,
Because obviously he was invested in Gwen, wasn't he? So
true.
Gwen was invested in Gwen. Oh, that's a bit of a tongue twister. Um, I've never noticed that before. But so maybe that was the pull. But yeah, I'd
Mm,
be like Ferrari in a small town.
mm.
Mm.
And you know what? I think that's understandable. Like, okay, I'm investing in Gwen. Let me go and see what this is about. But Rob, Rob thinking that he'd fall for that, and I flip it as like, why would that be the thing that would convince someone to come out?
Yeah.
Maybe odd, interesting.
Just, yeah, very odd. And especially with it being Rob as well. Boo
Yeah,
hiss.
yeah, Rob
Horrible
is.
Rob. Ugh. We'll have a chat about Rob. I'm
We
putting
will.
it off at the moment. The Miss has put that she felt that the prologue worked well.
Mm.
Um, Tam's put, yes, it was a silly move. Never hand over the floppy disk. Yeah, we'll have a chat about the floppy
Yeah,
disk saga.
yeah,
And Eddie's video put number one rule in computer class: don't hand over the floppy disk. So obviously our girl in this one was Kirsten Wilkes, or
Mm.
call her Kristin, and she's not going to be very happy. But Kirsten Wilkes. So obviously she's new to the area. She's living in Gwen's house because the family have moved away. And
Mm.
obviously he was killed off. We never really get to meet him properly, which is sad. I would have liked to have
Mm.
met him properly, even in like a flashback or something like that. But yeah, so Kirsten's told it's suicide, and then the drama unfolds, and we discover very early on that Kirsten can't drive. So, what did you think of Kirsten's driving skills? Would you have got in the car with her? There's a lot of screaming.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't. It's one of those ones where it sounded like she'd been trying for a while. And like, I understand it initially. I remember when I had my first couple of lessons, terrible.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand how you could, use the clutch, change gear. Like I didn't understand it. Um, but no, yeah, never in a
No.
million years would I get in a car
No.
with Kirsten. I think I'd rather walk.
I'd rather walk,
I'd
yeah.
rather walk.
I mean, all the people in the back of the car knew clearly what was going to happen. So why they didn't get out of the car during that driver's ed lesson at the beginning, I will never know. Unless they was in the middle of nowhere. I'm not sure.
Mm.
But yeah, they kind of did drive back to school, didn't they? So, but what did you think of Kirsten as our main character in the book? Did you like her or did she get on your nerves?
That's a good question. I think I had a lot of sympathy for her. I think
Mm,
so. She'd moved from, I guess, like her friends. This was her
yeah,
new place, so I know what that's like to like move and you're kind of adjusting to everything around you.
yeah.
Um, but I think some of we'll get to Rob in a moment. But when everyone is
Yeah.
telling you Rob, he's not a great guy, and you still go, but maybe. Hmm."
Yeah.
I'm
Mm.
like, that's when I like my patience starts to thin a little bit. But no, all in all, I think she was courageous, and I think actually I thought the author did a good job in capturing sort of like the emotional aspect of her. Like when you're that age, like lots of things feel really big in those
Mm.
moments. So like seeing how she was going from one place to the other, and I was like, yeah, actually, that's quite accurate. Like these things, as a teen, you just kind of you go from feeling one
Mm.
thing to feeling the other thing. Even after we'll get to Rob when that happens. Like even after it, there's still that reticence to she's
Yeah.
wrestling with things. So I thought that was
Mm.
quite good. I thought she was great.
Yeah.
Real, yeah.
I just saw Teddy put Kirsten equals strong female lead, loved her.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I did really like her. I think she had like moments for me of like where I did think, oh, silly, mainly with Rob. But other than that, I did kind of like her, and I liked the relationship between her and her younger brother as well because
yes,
that was just
I
great.
loved it
And he was just pranking her all the time, and she fell for it every
every
time.
time.
It's a bit like me and my younger brother when we was younger, so it just reminded me of that. But yeah, Nat was it Nat? I think his name. Yeah,
Yeah,
Natty.
Nat.
He was
Yeah,
great.
yeah, it was brilliant,
Bit
brilliant.
annoying, but
Which
great.
younger sibling isn't?
Oh well, exactly. But yeah, my favourite Kirsten moment though was when I think she called like a taxi to go like half a mile. I think all pondered calling a taxi at least to go half a mile down the road.
Yeah,
And I thought, go Kirsten.
yeah.
Nearly called her Kristen then, she would have
Oh,
killed me.
oh,
And yes, and another moment that I liked with Kirsten was when she gives you like top tips not to get mugged. And even the mugger then turns out to be a mailbox, which is
yeah.
like classic point horror,
I love it.
fake out. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I love that. That's one of my favorite tropes is just like the fake outs and keeps you
yeah.
guessing and you're like, okay, this is it. Nope, nope.
Just a
Just
mailbox.
a mailbox.
And me and Narissa always talk about one in an R.L. Stein book where he builds up this like big thing, like, oh, there's something in the cupboard. There's something in the cupboard. Oh, it's just a mop, and the mop falls out of the cupboard. It's
Oh,
great.
brilliant.
Yeah, I love a fake out. But yeah, Kirsten's tips to not get mugged are swing your arms crazily,
Mm,
walk in the middle of the road, I presume she means the street.
mm.
Sing the battle hymn of the Republic at the top of your lungs. Drawl and pick your nose. So,
Interesting.
safety tips.
I was with Kirsten at those first few tips, and then
Yeah.
it sort of faded for me. That's my
Hmm.
support kind of waned.
Yeah. Drawling and picking your nose is like next
Uh,
level.
yeah.
Yeah. Never forget,
But
though.
could
Never
work,
forget.
like, the attacker could be like, what is going on here? I don't want to mess with anyone that's drooling and picking their nose like that.
Yeah, true. And yeah, talking about the floppy disk scene as well. She didn't know how to password protect her diary entries.
Shocking.
Yeah, been there in the 90s. It was harder back then. It really was.
I'm gonna be real, I got lost when I was seeing like DOS and all of that. I'm like, I don't
No,
know what is going on.
you're making me feel old. I bet you was reading it like, what is this? What? Like, did you have to Google like old
Ah,
computer?
listen, yeah, gosh, I was like, I think I get what's going on. I think, sort of.
Oh dear, oh dear, I feel so old. Karen's put her Kirsten's driving lessons. He was an awful teacher, screaming and
Fair
yelling.
point.
So that's Mr.
Yeah,
Bus.
it's true. I mean, like when Rob basically taught her, she seemed to do fine. So I think quality of teaching.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually
yeah,
can't blame her. Yeah,
no,
she was disadvantaged from the start. I mean,
yeah.
with a teacher like that.
I mean, alcoholic, roast beef neck. Like,
Yeah,
she didn't really
not
stand
great
a chance.
qualities. Yeah, doomed from the start.
Sharon put, I'm so old. I am pre computers and floppy disks. Pen and paper for me, I think that's meant to say. Oh dear. Narissa said she liked Kirsten's no nonsense attitude. Um,
Mm,
yeah, she didn't take any nonsense, and I did quite
no.
like that about her. And I loved her love for Jason Priestley as well, who was a 90s icon and still is. Emma's put, my aunt drives like Kirsten. I remember fearing for my life. I think, Emma, I think you've told me about your aunt driving before. Yeah, I think you haven't been in the car with me yet, so
Uh,
yeah, we'll see. Shannon's put, I drive like Kirsten, that's why I had motorbikes, safer for everyone. Emma said Kirsten felt very authentic. Teddy said,
did
just,
yeah.
yeah. Teddy's put, as someone who took 5 driving tests before I passed, Kirsten has my sympathies. Oh dear. Tam's put, my nan was the same, Emma. She took her test 10 times. She was
And
a determined woman. Wow, that is
that is determined.
determination.
Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah, and
Kept going until
she
passed.
was gone 50. Wow, that's amazing. Too fond of books said, I started off driving like Kirsten. I had a very similar behind the wheel class group and driving experience. Yeah, because over here we don't have driver's ed at
Mhm.
schools, right? Unless it's changed since I was at school.
Yeah.
But we don't have it. I think it's like an American thing. But I think we should have it over here. I think it's a good idea because my teen's learning to drive at the moment, and I think, oh, if he'd done that at school, he would have been a bit more ahead or whatever. So I think it's a good idea to do it at school. I think we
Agreed.
should start
Mm.
that. Eddie's video said, I liked it. I liked Kirsten for her investigating skills, but for most part, she had me pulling my hair and what's left of it as a floppy disk knowing old man. Yes, you're very old. Narissa said her conflicting emotions about what Rob did was absolutely spot on. I felt that
Mm.
was well done. So we'll have a chat about Rob next. Eddie put, I like Kirsten for. Oh, you've already put that, Eddie. You're making me go mad. um, yeah, she was naive and a little daft, Sharon says, but likable enough.
Mm.
Yeah. And Eddie put, what bugged me the most with her was letting Virgil do what he wants without questioning. Right, this is a good point.
Yes.
So,
Well,
Virgil, what did you think of him? Because he infuriated me but made me laugh at the same time.
yeah, Virgil was an odd, an odd fellow. And
Mm,
like, I think particularly the thing that made me laugh the most and just be like, what is going on was when he burst in and was like, they stole it! They
yeah.
stole a floppy disk! And it's sort of like, if you want to be discreet, you know,
Mm,
you you don't go doing that.
no.
And because of that, he then had to sort of admit what he knew. And I was like, you know what? I would have
Mm.
played that differently if I was Virgil. He's not smart at all.
He was not chill in any way. Like, even when he just turns up at Kirsten's house and then he's like, "Oh, I need to use the bathroom," and then she's
Yeah.
downstairs, like he's taking forever upstairs in the bathroom. Like she's just like, yeah, just let him get on with what he's
Oh,
doing up there. And he's like snooping around in the attic, we find out later, trying to find the floppy disk, in case it had incriminating evidence on it. Crazy.
thing is though,
Um,
like, what could possibly be incriminating? Because it like he didn't uh Gwen didn't survive the
yeah,
initial incident, so all he could have said was, "I'm going to meet Robin and Virgil," and it's like,
yeah.
and then just like, well, you just I don't condone lying, but if I was in his position, I'd be like, yeah, well, he didn't turn up.
That is such a good point. Like, why were they so concerned about that floppy disk? There could not have been anything on there, surely. Other than that, his love for Gwen. You know what it's like in teenage diaries. Oh, I love my crush. But yeah, there wouldn't have been anything. I agree with that.
Yeah,
Bit obsessed over that floppy disk he was.
he was.
Yeah, but he did go. He made me laugh just for how like outrageous he was because he was totally freaking out, especially by the end. And I think I
Yeah.
shared like a quote that where he goes, "Kirsty, we're fugitives. Our faces will be hanging in post offices coast to coast. We
God,
won't be able to stop the gas. What are we going to do? Drive around till we find a plastic surgeon who can change our looks for free?"
the level of like dramatics, or like
Yeah.
how Kirsten convinced herself and her friend convinced her that she was prime suspect number one, and suddenly
Yeah.
and I was like, but you're not. I don't understand how you suddenly just decided, oh my gosh, like they're gonna suspect me. I'm like, no, I don't think that's the way it works. You
No,
know?
no. And he really made himself look guilty. I mean, yes, we do find out he was involved that night,
Mm,
but he made himself look a little bit more guiltier than what he needed to be. Is that
yeah,
fair, or was he just pure guilty?
yeah. I think that's fair. I think that's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah. He just totally freaked out. And then I think as well. Oh, he called his computer Wolfgang, and I was like, "Do we name our computers? Do you name your
Mm,
computer?"
no,
No.
my brother does. My brother
Oh,
does. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
oh.
yeah.
So it is a thing.
It's
What's your brother call his computer then? Are we allowed to say
Samantha.
it?
It might have
So,
changed. Samantha.
Samantha.
Yeah,
Oh,
nice name. Nice
yeah.
name. Yeah,
I think you
sort of
should suggest Michelle going
Michelle.
forward or Shelley. Yeah,
Shelley. I'll be
yeah.
fine. Yeah, yeah. I should name mine. I'm a bit boring. I don't have a name. People name cars though. I know that's a common thing. People
Yeah.
name their cars.
See, I've got a bright yellow car because it's a long story, but I've always wanted a yellow car, and one came up, and then I got it. So I just call mine the Yellow Peril because of my driving.
Love it.
So yeah, but people do name their cars. But yeah, going naming a computer, I don't know. I'll have to try it and see. Maybe my computer would work better with a name. You never know.
Maybe.
But yeah, Kirsten doesn't stand much about Virgil and kind of tells him, "Cram it, Virgil," a lot of the
Yeah.
time.
I think to be fair, Virgil does. He gets teased quite a bit. I think it really like rubs in the wrong way when he's teased about Gwen. I
Mm,
think yeah, I don't think he's ever gonna live that down.
yeah, and oh, he loves Gwen, doesn't he? Remember when he goes running after her when she runs off and he can't keep up with her?
That was funny.
He was like, she ran too fast.
And then he leaves his girlfriend,
Yeah,
which
to
is
go and
like,
to go and
um,
run after his crush.
terrible decision. Terrible decision.
Oh
Even I know
dear.
that's the terrible decision.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Larissa said Virgil did get off too easy. Ah, okay, yeah. And Tam's put, why didn't Kirsten go and find out where Virgil had gone when he went to the bathroom? I would have been very suspicious and worried. Apart from that, I thought that she was cool, as in Kirsten.
Mm.
Well, I think she just decided maybe just to leave him to it. I mean, he could have had an upset stomach or anything, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but like, at what point? At what point do you go
and check.
check and be like, "Are you okay? Like, what is happening?"
Yeah. She was too busy making those cream bagels, wasn't she? Cinnamon bagels with cream
Oh
cheese.
yeah, gosh.
That was all she was after. That was it.
Focus on the bagel.
Emma put, I love it when youngsters join us on the 90s crazy train. Oh dear. Eddie's video said, I still don't know who Jason Priestley is. I'm speechless. Toby, do you know who Jason Priestley is?
I might,
No.
I might know if I see his face.
Yeah. So using 90210, and he was like a 90s heartthrob.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
gonna have to Google him now.
Nikki said, I always remember getting confused between Jason Priestley and Luke Perry, who was another 90s heartthrob. That's very true. You're going to have to look all these people up,
Yeah,
Tomi.
Luke Perry. The name rings a bell.
Yeah, yeah. So he was in
The
Riverdale, and then sadly he's
dad,
passed
right? The
away.
dad.
The
He was the
dad,
dad.
yeah,
Yes.
that's it,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember him.
So Luke Perry. Heather's put, I complain with my co-worker, who is the driver's ed teacher at Heather's school, about traffic circles and roundabouts. Emma said Virgil is a prat. Emma
Agreed.
didn't like Virgil. Yeah. Oh dear. Eddie May put, I had a driver's ed class in the 80s here in high school and nearly failed because my teacher had the creepiest moustache and I kept trying not to look at it.
Ah! I understand that. I understand that when something is just like so prominent, you're like, I need to focus, but at the same time, you're just like,
Distracting.
just keep looking. So I get it. I understand it.
Yeah, I get that. Eddie's video said, in my school, driver's ed was mainly for the rich kids, to be honest, an
Mm,
extracurricular activity that was always filled up oddly by said kids. Oh, interesting. Hmm.
mm,
And Nerissa's put, I think part of that was new to town wanting to be nice. Oh, so talking about Kirsten maybe being a bit more nicer to Virgil, I'm guessing. I think part of that was she was new to town, wanted to be nice, probably overly trusting as he was her best friend's boyfriend. Yeah, that's
yeah,
true. Maybe
yeah,
she was just being nice.
that's fair.
Yeah. Tam's put Virgil was suspicious guy number one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of all, well, we from the opening we knew Virgil was involved somehow. We just didn't know how. Nerissa's put, if I had mentioned they were meeting for a drive, it could worry a teen. Oh, I don't know whether I've missed something there. No one named their car though, Emma said. Oh, Melina's
Mm,
put, her computer has a name. Oh. And Emma said her car's called Kit. I like that.
that's a cool name.
Yeah. Eddie Mays, but maybe Virgil was so extra dramatic because he knew he was guilty and couldn't hold it all in. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, spiraling. He did spiral when
He
things
did
started to
spiral, yeah.
unfold.
I think
Good point.
though he reacted how maybe I would react in that situation and just spiral out of control, like, oh my god, like and have a panic about it. But yeah, you know, I wouldn't be guilty of doing what what he did. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh dear. Nerissa's put, as a teen, it's easy to be irrational and overly dramatic about possible consequences. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's true.
Teddy's got a yellow car called Blanche after the Golden Girls. I'm liking all these
These are
names.
cool names.
And Eddie May said she calls her tablet Tabba. Oh, I'm missing out.
I need to start naming all the
I
inanimate
know,
objects
that's it.
I own.
Everything's going to have a name now.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh dear. In homage to Virgil. I don't know whether that's a good thing or not. So Nikki said, what happened to Maria? Completely disappeared in the second half. So Maria was the bestie, and we just didn't, yeah, she didn't care about her best friend at the end, did she?
It's true. And she was the
Mm,
one that planted the seed of like, you're suspect number one.
yeah.
You're suspect number one. And then just
Mm,
sort of said, off you go.
yeah.
Suspect
Off
number one.
you go. Go and figure it out. I'm
Yeah.
not coming with you. Oh dear. Yeah, she didn't care. Karen said I named my laptop Gwyneth because
That's a
Gwyneth Paltrow
lovely name.
named her, because Gwyneth Paltrow named her kid Apple. So Karen, that's good. Oh dear, that made me laugh. Heather's put, I brought bagels after reading this book, and Too Fond of Books said it made me hungry for bagels as well. Yeah, all the bagels. Um, Never saw 90210. Eddie, you missed out. Just getting to the bottom of the comments. Oh, you did a little thumb up
I do
thing.
not know how that's done. I didn't.
This happens randomly,
I know if
Tomi.
you like, you do a thumbs up, I think it should do it. I don't know why it's.
No,
No.
it does it random. Occasionally, I set fireworks off, and I don't know how it happens. Emma put, what about Olaf, the cranky old Karen? Not Karen in the chat,
Oh,
just Karen. What a rude
yeah.
git.
Very
Oh,
rude.
yeah.
Borderline
But
racist.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Not
that's what I was going to
borderline, to
say.
be fair.
Like, actual
Racist.
racist,
Yeah.
yeah. Because it was, but I thought, in a way, I was, I don't want to say I'm glad that that character was in there saying what he said, because that's not what I mean at all. But I think it was important to put a character like that in, just for even those couple of pages,
Mm,
to
mm.
show what was going on at that time, and especially with the older generation, maybe having that type of opinion. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. I
What?
think it's always good to kind of have that level of kind of authenticity, but not give it
Yeah,
too much
yeah,
kind of importance,
yeah,
but rather to kind of say this is reflective of what it was like, and kind of
mm,
make up your own mind. It's very clear
yeah.
to anyone that that's like horrible guy,
Yeah, yeah,
terrible guy.
definitely. And it was just acknowledged in the right amount of pages, the right
Yeah.
amount of text for me. And I thought, well, this is what I like about Peter Lerangis' writing. He does kind of push those boundaries and makes these things quite, prominent,
Mm,
and makes you think, really. So I did an interview with him quite a few years ago now, and one of the things that I did ask him was about like him putting like real issues like racism, sexuality, like in his 90s fiction. Obviously, he was writing them in the 80s, 90s, and he kind of said it was important to him. He put, the best horror writing for adults always has a social subtext. So the basis of horror is confronting fear of the unknown, and for teens especially, the unknown involves things like sexuality and race. YA books nowadays discuss sexuality and race, but back then it was a topic that writers didn't
mm,
mention
mm.
overtly back in the 90s. He said it was like as if we were guests at some great aunt's dinner party, that it wouldn't get mentioned. And then also at the time of him writing this, there was the plight of the Vietnamese refugees, which was a big issue in the early 90s. And he said US friends of his lived in a community in New England where people scribbled racist threats on sidewalks in front of houses where Vietnamese immigrants had moved. So he wanted to kind of like tackle that a little bit in this book and just bring it to
Mm.
the forefront. So I thought that was quite interesting. And
Yeah.
that he did that as well. I thought that was quite nice. Yeah, so Teddy put Olaf can get in the bin. Yeah, that's what we think. And yeah, Too Fond of Books said, didn't the author take inspiration from a true story? And that's why the main character was Vietnamese. So he said that, just finding the quote so I don't misquote it, but he'd been following a heartbreaking discrimination case in the news about a wrongfully accused Vietnamese boy who'd been killed. So he didn't remember the details, but he just remembers that it was such a sense of injustice that he'd been given this title of driver's dead, but he loved the idea of setting the plot around this thing that he was just so passionate about at the time. So I thought, good on Peter Lerangis, always pushing those boundaries back in the
Mm,
90s. So we've put it off for as long as we possibly
yeah.
can. Let's talk about Rob.
Uh,
Girl, what did you think of Rob?
so initially I thought, okay, this is someone who maybe like the experience has thought like in my head I thought the way it was going was sort of the experience that he had that night kind of it
Mm,
kind of completely mellowed him. But that was not the case. And
no.
honestly, just a terrible terrible character in terms of
Awful.
integrity, like just terrible. And I
Mm,
think, and I don't understand it. You know that he knows where you live, not because he saw you doing
yeah.
things, but you knew that, and you're still like, okay, let's. But I did not think it would go there in the park at
Mm.
all. That was wild.
Yeah, no, it's really unusual in a point horror. Normally, we get these really horrible characters who were like, boo, get in the bin.
Mm.
Like Frank from April Fools, we always bring up, which is another point horror book. But yeah, get in the bin, don't like them. But they always never die. So I was pleasantly surprised in this book that he actually got his comeuppance pretty
Mm.
soon in the book. I mean, we was only about halfway through the book, and he gets killed by a mysterious circumstances, which we'll chat about. But I was like, oh, this is different to the usual point
Mm.
horror, because normally they stay around for for the whole book. But yeah, he was awful, and as you said, like knowing where she lived and then making the excuse of, oh, I saw you mowing the lawn. But then it annoyed me that she thought, well, I've not mowed the lawn, but she just went along with it anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Ah,
oh, no,
terrible.
no, no. And yeah, and when she gets in the car as well, that should have like just been
Yeah.
flagged. So I think he had like soda cans, magazines, plastic wrappers, and like shredded foam all in the car. And then obviously, does he take her jacket or something and gets her to sit on it, or a t-shirt or something like that? And I think Kirsten kind of says he expects me to sit on that. But as the shirt was clean, she was like, "Oh well, that's fine."
Oh gosh, she really
Yeah,
liked him. Yeah, very
yeah,
surface sensed.
yeah.
Put up with all of that.
I know.
Mm.
And then she didn't really bat, but I think that desensitized her a bit, because later on, when she gets in the car with all the dirty magazines and stuff in with Mr. Busk, she doesn't bat an eyelid. She's
Yeah,
past it by that point.
oh, for real.
Oh dear. So when Rob offers to take Kirsty to the park, what were your thoughts on that? Were you like, red flag, don't go?
Big. I think whenever someone, I mean, not whenever, but I think with that, when someone with that level of like character says,
Mm.
"I won't," no, we won't do anything that you don't want to do,
Oh,
usually means I'm gonna keep, we're gonna keep inching closer and closer until I know what you don't want to
yeah.
do, and even then, can I go for it
Mm.
anyway? So that was as soon as I heard it would say that, I was like, okay, no, this is big,
Yeah,
big red flags, and
yeah,
so get out,
yeah,
run away, leave this dude because he's
yeah.
terrible.
And basically, oh, he just, ugh, yeah. But she does bite his lip, doesn't she? When he tries to
Yeah,
he forces himself upon her in on the bench and kissing her,
wild.
and she bites his lip, and I was like,
Ah, come on, yeah,
yes,
need it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then he
And then
acts like
yeah,
surprised. I'm like,
yeah, I was just gonna say that he was like, why did you do that for? And I'm like, I had to put the book down at that point. I was like, so angry,
yeah, I was just like,
so
oh.
angry.
It's like the nerve, the audacity of
Mm,
you.
yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. Teddy put Rob can get in the bin with Olaf.
Yeah, two peas in a
um,
pod.
Eddie put Rob equals what? What's the point of this character, to be completely honest? Too fond of books put Rob was a jerk. Emma's but I knew he was going to try it on in the park. All girls knew this in the 90s. Yes, not Kirsten. She's like, oh, he will stand by his
A
word. Is that?
man of
Oh,
integrity.
she annoyed me.
Mm.
Eddie Ray said, Shelley, you giggling, saying Rob died of mysterious circumstances had me laughing. Oh dear. But he did I still not sure I understand.
Yeah.
So he died essentially by being run over in a place where you can't get a car and it's all down to this mysterious flyer.
Mm.
What did we think of this telekinesis kind of thing going on, which was meant to be
Yeah.
Gwen from the grave, wasn't it? Did
I
you like
wish
this?
I wish it had maybe been a bit more consistent
Yeah.
throughout. So I feel like there were flashes where I thought, okay, we're gonna get like a nice, consistent, kind of clear through line. But I think there were like, and I love a sort of fake out, but I felt like in quick succession there were too many that made me think,
Mm,
oh, okay, this is more like in her head sort of thing. Like she's just a bit really freaked out and on edge and
mm,
kind of that. And so then I just found myself a bit lost. And I was
yeah.
like, what is happening? Is this like, is she just psychologically like seeing what she wants to see, or is this
Mm,
real? But then like we've not really been getting any indication that he's like still there, kind of in a weird way. So I kind of
yeah.
wish they'd been a bit more consistent
Mm,
to kind of
I
really make sure it was
I agree.
done well.
And I wish that the author had explored it more, because you kind of get this like Stephen King, Christine kind of vibe with the car and the
Mm,
tyre tracks when Rob dies.
yeah,
And I was like, oh, we want to explore this more and see, what's going to happen. But all we really get is that the car keeps turning on the flyer, and
yeah,
and that's it. But like, how like if I think
I don't
about
get
it,
it.
like how was he doing it from the grave? Because and my mind's just like, that emoji,
Yeah,
it goes.
yeah,
But I kind of liked it was unique, and I think it didn't feel out of place.
mm,
But I just wanted more. I wanted more to do with this, deadly car that came out of the pool and ran Rob over and made us
yeah.
all happy.
So do you know what? Initially, I thought Gwen's not dead. Maybe there's
Yeah.
like some conspiracy here, and that actually he's sort of alive in some weird sort of state. And it's taken him a long, long time for him to kind of get strong enough and powerful enough to like be able to go from the sort of like moving it slightly on the fly to like
Mm,
shifting it out of the
yeah.
flyer into the real world. But then it kind of that never materialized. So I was just like, okay, I have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah,
And
that
I
would have
kind of
been
just,
so cool.
yeah, I just said, you know what, I'm
Mm.
just gonna accept what is that he's dead and move on.
Oh dear, we never really get an answer, do we? Really, at all from it. It was mind-boggling, but I kind of liked it in a weird way.
Yeah.
Mainly just because Rob died, and I was like, yeah. But it made me laugh how the police don't even question like the tire tracks. Really, they're just like
Um,
looking and
yeah,
yeah,
that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. You never really hear more about that investigation either. Too, it kind of just
Agree.
gets forgotten. Um, Too fond of books said Rob taking her keys so she had to walk home was mean. Yeah, he took
Was
Kirsten's keys off her. Shouldn't have
true.
gone to that
Yeah,
park. Yeah,
despicable guy.
yeah. Cameron said, yeah, going to the park, that was a classic 90s out for a smooch move. with that "let's sit here in the park." Yeah, I think I did fall for that a couple of times. I have to admit, back in the day. Emma put nasty. My OCD would have been in overdrive. I'd have made him clean the car, so about the car being dirty before I got in. Sharon said Rob was vile.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think any of us like Rob. Nikki said, "Yep, the old part. Come on, yeah." Ugh, I can't believe Kirsten fell for it. I can't believe it.
Oh,
Yeah. Eddie Ray said Rob getting whacked, so dying early on made me so happy. Same. Nikki said he was lucky that she only bit his lip. She should have gone further. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And Emma's put the flyer was a rubbish plot device. Yeah. I wish they'd just explained it in the end that it was different flyers at different angles and someone was putting a prank on her in a kind of way. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about
Yeah.
it. It's really weird.
And I'm seeing
Yeah.
one of the most recent comments says, if it's supernatural, I never feel I need hows and whys. And I get that. And I feel like
Yeah.
I should have committed to the
Yeah.
supernatural. And then I would have been like, cool,
Yeah.
there's something very eerie going on here. And I'm bought in. I don't need to like over explain it. I just need
Yeah.
to feel like this is now a supernatural
Yeah.
horror, but I never felt like I got that. I felt like I got a glimpse of it, and then I kind of it was grounded all of a sudden again. I'm like, okay, no, this is very much firmly rooted in reality, and then we shift back into the supernatural a little bit, then back to reality, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
um,
I
so
wonder if
yeah,
because obviously back in the 90s with these point horrors, there was a formula to them, and they all kind of stuck to the same formula, whereas Peter Loran just kind of tried to push that. So I wonder whether he got edited back and he was going to go for a supernatural
it's a fair point.
kind of
Yeah,
vibe, and he got edited back a little bit to like try and bring it back to the formula of what point horror is, kind of thing, maybe.
that's a very very good point. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe. Never know.
never know.
Nikki put, I felt it move from horror to supernatural. Yeah, and then it just couldn't decide what it wanted to be. Eddie's video said, sorry, I have a question. So was Rob killed by not Gwen, sorry, Gwen's, I'm getting all my names muddled up now. I never realised it was Gwen and Gwen. It's just to confuse us. So was Rob killed off by Gwen's ghost then, or did he off himself? What was the final verdict here? I'm getting it was the ghost. Do you,
Yeah,
Tomi?
I'm
Yeah.
getting Ghost.
Yeah.
Ghost said, but that's what then confuses me. How is it when we get to the end and kind of how things transpire? How is it Rob's fault?
Yeah.
Ultimately, how is it Rob's fault? That's what
Why
confuses
didn't he
me.
go after Virgil straight away? And obviously the reveal that we get of Mr. Busk.
Mm,
Why didn't he
mm,
go for that straight away? He just went for Rob. Is it because Rob invited him to that night?
possibly, yeah, under
Yeah.
false pretenses.
Yeah. But the other two were just as guilty, so really should have gone after them.
Yeah,
Shouldn't they?
agreed.
Mm. Um, Too Fond of Book said I could have done without the telekinesis. Melina put the flyer was such a strange choice. There were so many better ways for Gwen to get revenge. Yeah, if it could have just been like a deadly ghost, and like at one point I remember when I first read it, I suspected Gwen with
Mm,
the locket,
mm,
and I thought is somehow she manifesting the ghost of Wen and acting out his revenge for him. That's what I thought, and I thought that would have been
mm.
quite cool as well because she kept playing with that locket, which obviously did mean something in the end, which was very confusing
Yeah,
as well. Nerissa thought I liked it. Tam thought I was confused by the flyers. Um, Karen said, even my 97-year-old nan knew the park was for Karen's still on the park. Even my 97-year-old nan knew the park was for snogging. Snoggies. She kept telling me to take my ex to the park because she really liked him because he made great sandwiches for her. Nan had
Yeah,
priorities.
yeah, on point.
Teddy thought the flyer was good, in my opinion. It gave that horror element. Ah, okay. Yeah. Emma put, I like Tomi's idea that Gwen is not dead. Yeah. And that's why I thought maybe Gwen was involved somehow, like hiding him or hiding or doing his revenge for him.
Mm.
Sharon put, I think the idea was good, but not followed through with the ghost moving the car. Narissa said, if it's supernatural, I never feel I need the hows and whys, which is what you said. Nikki put, I like that Kirsten blamed the pawn shop not being open for smashing the window and taking the locket when the officer offered them a coffee. Oh dear, that's why we liked Kirsten.
Yeah, initiative.
Yeah. Karen said, I feel like Peter Lerangis watched a spooky movie halfway through writing this book and just flung in the necklace and spookiness in later drafts. He does mention in the interview that I did that there was like a Stephen King thing that he saw, but he can't remember what it was. And it had something to do with the moving photo, and it kind of gave him the idea to put in. Eddie's video said he asked the earlier question because he didn't like that Gwen killed him. Oh, didn't like that Gwen killed Rob. So Gwen didn't feel like a murdering ghost. Oh, so he didn't get the vibe that
Mm.
Gwen was a murdering kind of ghost. Don't feel like the author expanded on that. Yeah. Speed Chick said revenge by Gwen for sure, but not sure how Virgil escaped. Very true. So what did you think when you got to the end? What did you think of the ending? So obviously we get the reveal that Mr. Busk, surprise, surprise, with his roast beef neck, it just made me laugh, that description, was like drunk driving that night and kind of ran them off the road. But Kirsten does bring a good point up. Like at that point, why didn't they call the police? Because it wasn't actually their fault. Why did they then have to go and hide the body?
Yeah.
Like I got very confused at the end a little bit. But it did work for me, but I was just a bit
Yeah,
like,
I thought, I think when I was thinking about it, I was like, but you've got Virgil and Rob. That's two. And all you've got is Mr. Buss. That's one. So
yeah,
it's two against one. If two people are saying this guy's a drunk and this guy was
yeah,
driving, breathalyzer right now, test him right now, he's not gonna stand a chance.
yeah.
And I think the reason that they did what he said is like he said, if you don't do it, I'm gonna tell them that you did it. I suppose they were in a stolen vehicle, so
Well,
there is that.
yeah,
But
there is that.
I'm like,
And I think,
yeah,
yeah, they kind of said, didn't they? Like, well, he's a teacher at the end of the day, so they're probably going to believe him more. But yeah, I think they just because Mr. Bus didn't help them move the body, right? They did that themselves, Virgil and Rob. So
yeah,
I just think no, you should have called the
yeah,
police, and then
100%.
all of this. But then we wouldn't have had a dead Rob, and it swings
Yeah,
and roundabouts.
that's true.
Swings and roundabouts. And then we had the whole thing with the locket. And what did you think of that? So the locket was, is it a revenant or something? I don't know whether I'm saying the right
Did it have like a
word
picture
then.
of his family in it or something like that?
Yes, so it was a picture of his family. I wasn't sure whether that was the relevance. It was his mum and dad,
Mm,
was it?
I think
Maybe.
so.
Mm.
Yeah.
So why would he give that locket to Gwen? Oh, I'm opening up a can of worms
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, he must have really liked
Confusing.
her. Must have really liked her and thought like this is something that's sentimental to me. I'm going to share that with you. And
Oh,
he was like, there you go.
nice. Oh dear. Um, Emma said Mr. Busk was not needed. It came out of nowhere.
Did a
Um,
little bit. I
yeah.
found it incredibly comical what he did at the train crossing.
That
That
scene.
that baffled me. I genuinely like burst out laughing because I'm like, of all the ways, of all the
Yeah.
ways to like kill someone, that's
I
the one you
mean,
go with.
it had very Final Destination vibes at that point. But for
Yeah,
me, that was my favourite scene in the whole book was that train.
yeah, it was.
So he kind of like locks Kirsten in the car somehow. And I didn't understand that. So did he take the key out the
Yeah,
ignition or and
yeah, I
then
didn't
locked her in
understand it.
the car and then she says she can see him running away. I
Yeah,
could just imagine. I could picture him running away like this little man running. And I think doesn't he wear like a wig or something? I can imagine that like flopping
just
in the
fluff it up.
wind. His
Oh,
little
crack
roast
me
beef
up.
neck all red and raw. Running away from Kirsten. And then you got that whole thing with Kirsten then trying to get out of the car. And then she finds a bat conveniently under the seat of this old car,
Uh,
which apparently must be a thing because in another car later on she finds another bat, but
mm,
in the Jeep. But yeah, that whole scene. Was that one of your favourite scenes then,
I think
just
it
for
had to
comedy
be.
value?
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't help but laugh, and then you surprise. It's like, oh, and like,
Oh,
and tries to gaslight her, so that you're misremembering it.
yeah.
That didn't happen, which honestly just made me laugh so much. I was like,
Yeah.
this is
The
wild to
Kirsten's
me.
like, no, it did. And you left me and you took all the keys and you ran off and I managed to get out. Oh dear. Yeah, that scene was great. Um Sharon put Nightmares and Dreamscapes is the King film with the moving
Oh,
photos.
okay.
Okay,
Check
I'll have to check that
it out.
out. Mm. See how that goes down. Karen said, I did think the wailing in the trees scene would have looked awesome on film. Yeah, so that whole ending when you've got like the whoo, like
Yeah,
all the
that would have
ghosts
been visually pretty
manifesting. Yeah,
stunning,
you could
pretty
just imagine it kind of
freaky.
going around the tree and, you know, all dark and gloomy and stuff. That would have been pretty cool. I do agree on that. Was there a reason for Busk running around unaliving folks? Karen said. So, I mean, he was just a drunk, wasn't he? He shouldn't have been teaching driver's ed lessons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
Yeah. And Narissa said, to quote Charlie Kelly, if you start picking these things apart, nothing's going to make sense. Yeah, so that is true. We
Mm.
just take it for what it is. Oh dear. Melina put plus there would have been Point Horror police. Yeah, so the police looking at Rob's death, they wouldn't have achieved anything, Melina said, because the Point Horror police are
Yeah.
useless. They're
Ugh.
not like normal police. No. Emma said a lot of it didn't add up, too many elements. Eddie's video said killing someone off as a result of drinking and driving, plus he also tried to kill Kirsten. Yes. The train scene, Heather said, all I could think of was Bus going, bye! I can just picture it now. That scene would be brilliant. Gavin said, yeah, why the train car crash just dumped some oil fluid in a milkshake like a normal cereal unalive. And
Honestly.
Karen, I am worried about you. Karen knows too much. I'm never going out for a milkshake with Karen. Oh dear. Yeah, and Speedway Chick said he did the windows up as well. But how did she not notice this? Like, he did the windows up before he'd done the runner. Emma said my mate used to have a golf club in the car for protection. Oh, okay, in southeast London though, not a sleepy town. That's true.
That's fair.
That's true. So, just to finish off then, Toby, what did you think overall? Was it a good pick? Or was you like, your first adventure into Point Horror was a bit weird?
It was honestly great pick. Really weird, but I enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like when you can talk about a story and you can talk about all the different aspects of it and you can just enjoy it and laugh about it, I think that for me it's done its job.
Yeah.
It's it's just filled you with the joy of that experience. So I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah.
100%. It was a great
And
experience. So.
as I say, I always when I people ask me what my favourite point horrors are, I do sometimes say this book because just because of how different it is, and as you say, it's thought provoking and does give you a
Mm,
conversation points because you're just like, if you dig too deep into it, it's not going to make sense at all. But
see,
yeah, oh,
I
I'm
feel
glad
like I
you
have
enjoyed it.
ambitions now to like write a point horror-esque story. That
Oh
would be like,
yeah.
you know what? Let's just put in stuff that makes no sense. Let's put in stuff that you can pick apart, but it's fun. Let's put in
Yeah,
really comical stuff that like
yeah.
just works,
Just for
honestly.
just for the
For the
sake of it, and
thrills.
yeah, police who don't do anything, like dodgy suspects and red herrings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Listen.
bit of a supernatural element that will make people chat about it and think, why did the author do that? Yeah, inside the cover, Tam said I really enjoyed it, like the
Mm,
supernatural. It was fun. Um, Karen says I'm writing a comedy horror book featuring serial unalivers.
love it.
So I've learnt a few useful tactics if I was ever to start a life of crime.
Whoa.
Sharon. Sharon put, I enjoyed this book. It was mental. Yes. Eddie's put, question for Tomi. Which of his books does he recommend we read first? Any in particular?
Ooh, good question. So the Changing Man's already out. That one is sort of like supernatural science fiction horror vibes. So that one kind of feels already in the vein of like a
Mm,
point horror sort of
and it's
story.
so good. It's so good.
So that one, but you know what? I really love We Are Hunted. I think when
Mm,
that one comes out, I think that's just a
yeah.
fun, like it's just full of fun.
Yeah.
Lots of tense stuff. But yeah, you know what? The Changing Man. I think that one is a nice sort of entry point into
Yeah.
just kind of the weirdness of my mind.
Yeah.
And
And
then We Are Hunted makes much sense.
it's out in the US, The Changing Man, isn't it? 'Cause it's got a hardback cover,
It
I think I've seen.
does, yeah. It's also out in
Yeah.
the UK as well.
Yeah,
So both
UK and
places, you can
US,
get them
yeah.
everywhere, more or
Yeah.
less.
Oh, well, thank you for being our special guest. It's been an absolute pleasure to
Oh, thank
speak
you
to
for
you.
having me. I've had a lot of
And
fun.
you was actually requested by Emma. She said, "Oh, you should get Tomi on, and he'd be a great guest for
Love it.
Point Hard Book
I
Club."
love Emma.
So
She's great.
yeah, we love Emma.
Oh,
And so I was really happy when I reached out to you and you said yes, because I love the Changing Man. I thought it was brilliant. So I was like,
thank you.
yes. And thank you for giving Point Horror a try.
Oh no, I loved it. Let's
Yeah,
definitely do it again.
yes, you'll have to come
Can't wait for the
back
next
on
one.
again and we'll read another wacky one that then you'll be like,
Yeah,
what is
I
this?
need. Yeah, I need. I feel like now I've got like an itch that I need to keep scratching.
Yeah,
Point horror.
no, definitely.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, and thanks, guys, for all your fab comments as well and joining in. And we'll see you again next month.
Mm.
And check out Tomi's books and go and give him a follow as well. All right, then. Thanks a lot, Tomi.
No, thank
Right.
you very much.
Right. Oh, my Alexa just went off. Oh, it's when back from the dead. Oh, that
A
was
run.
really weird. I know. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
See you later. Bye. Bye.